When you reverted, when you took your shahada, how'd your mom react?
Honestly, um, my family didn't react the best, but I don't put the entire blame on them. I think I went about it in a really poor way. Um, I don't know if you have this problem, but I definitely do. Where, I need to be better about facing confrontation front on. So when there's an issue that's even simmering and it's small, I need to tackle it right when it's there and not let it grow into something bigger than it needs to be. So when I told my family, I didn't even tell my family. I posted it online. And that's how they saw it. I didn't sit my mom down and I was like, "Hey, I looked into this and I decided to accept this religion," or, have like a meaningful one-to-one heart-to-heart talk. They just saw me start posting about it online. So to them it kind of felt like I was like going behind their back, which I get. But I was also just afraid of the backlash and how they would end up reacting. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's not an easy problem to confront. But I definitely should have gone about it better and just sat them down and talked about it. So yeah, not the best to be honest with you, but I think a lot of that was on my end as well.
How would you have done it differently?
I would have sat them down and just talked to them about it. Like I tried talking to them about it more before I publicized I accepted Islam. Like just explaining what Islam is, how there's what angels are, they don't have free will, how there's two free willed beings, jinn and humans. I would just explain all the basics of it, how it's, just the final message of the same message that's come throughout time. Abraham wasn't a Christian. He was following pure monotheism, the same religion as Jesus, Moses, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon all of them. So I was just kind of explaining it to them ahead of time, them not knowing that I already took my shahada. And yeah, I would have just sat them down and had a more heart to heart confrontation and really dug deep with them rather than just beating around the bush.
Yeah. How's the relationship now?
It's better. It's definitely better for sure. Like they've gotten more used to it. I think they're also just scared of like where this would take me. If you've seen a lot of my older content, I'd be kind of just like extreme in how I talked. I would be very vulgar with swearing like all the time and saying nasty words and just be a little bit too over the top. So I think them seeing me, convert to or accept Islam, they would they would think I'm going to go even more extreme and get even more vulgar and crazy when it actually reined me back in. And now I have, an objective source to go back to for my morality. I'm not standing on air, trying to guess everything. Is what I'm saying the actual right thing to say? I hope so. I watched some of this podcast and this. I'm going to combine these talking points to have my own point of view because that's all your thoughts are at the end of the day if you don't have an objective morality source. You're plucking from what you hear from other people, you're taking a little bit of your own personal experience, and you're coming up with your own conclusion. Whereas now with Islam, I have my fitra, which was like my innate knowledge where there's things that, inherently I knew were good and bad. And a lot of that already, matched with Islam. So now it was just combining the two, matching them. And then whenever I have a question or I need to know how to deal with the situation that I don't know, I just look to Islam. I look to the stories of the Prophet Muhammad, the companions, peace be upon all of them. And I end up getting a way better answer than what I could have come up with myself, you know?
What has been the number one biggest struggle after you took your shahada?
Um, I guess it's just like kind of lonely at the end of the day. It's just kind of lonely. Like, I don't know if you ever went through hedonism where you'd be talking to girls and going out and drinking and all that stuff, but when that is the magnet that holds friendships together, and then you stop doing those things, you stop seeing the majority of your friends. You don't want to go out to bars. Actually, for a while after my shahada, I would still go out, to the bar or to the festival in the city during the day where everyone's drinking just to be around everyone, but I wouldn't be drinking there. And after like 7 times of going, I just realized like it really clicked how insufferable those situations are, where you're the only sober person in a place where everyone has to dumb themselves down to have fun. You're not on the same wavelength anymore, and it's just Yeah, bro. But it's funny that like I had to go out like at least like 7 to 10 times for it to like really click in my head. Like, all right, I'm not going to places where people are drinking anymore because this is terrible and it's just boring. Not even just from the spiritual sense. It's just boring. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to talk about. I don't want to talk to the women there and sleep with ugly drunk women that are gonna be coughing and burping all over the place. It's gross. But yeah, probably the loneliness, man. Like just kind of feeling alone on the journey. But I have a lot of good Muslim brothers and friends and stuff, and just even non-Muslim friends that are kind of have come into my life and are on the same wavelength about a lot of this stuff.
Mm. Has it ever been a struggle for you saying finding the Muslim enough friends? I see that can be a challenge for reverts where like when you're learning about your deen in those first couple months where you don't know everything and it's sometimes you can feel out of place with the people who are like really on their deen, but then you also don't fit in with the people who aren't Muslims. How did you balance that?
Mm, no, that never really bothered me, bro. Honestly, like a lot of the practicing Muslims, like they're really patient and accepting. I never really got that vibe where if I was around people that were too Muslim, that they kind of like were annoyed with me, or if I didn't know something, that it would be awkward. I think a lot of reverts get weirded out by them not knowing the prayers and other people knowing the prayers. Little stuff like that never bothered me at the end of the day. I always knew I was on a learning journey. It's one step at a time. I mean, even when I started praying, I couldn't even do the knees. Like my flexibility in my knees was so bad. It took me like 3 months of every time I prayed, it was like I needed WD-40 or something.
Yeah, I remember
So
first Ramadan was so painful. The amount of like prayer, my knees could not handle it.
yeah, but now I could sit like that for hours. I could sit in that position all day, and it doesn't matter. But for me, it was actually just a kind of cool way to see my progress in the physical sense because every week that I continued to pray, my knees would be going down a drastic amount. And then I noticed like if I skipped a day or two of prayer, I would really feel it more. So I had like that physical incentives to stay consistent as well, so my knees would feel better. And I don't know, it's that weird stretch feeling. It almost feels good in a way. It was like an extra little sense of dopamine and a physical way to track my progress, not just, in the spiritual sense.
The the friends you used to go out with, are you still in contact with any of them? Are those relationships gone?
I'm still friends with most of them. It's just we don't really, I don't go out with them anymore. But we'll play video games or maybe sometimes play sports during the day. My college friends, I don't really talk to anymore because that whole relationship was just drinking and talking to girls. And then my hometown friends are like my day ones. I wouldn't want to give them up for anything because there's just a certain sense of loyalty when growing up with other people like that. But yeah, I also moved to New York in around December, November. So, this is like my third time moving to a completely new place, having to make new friends. And this time I was doing it on Dean. So it's really just been hanging around like a really small group of people. And then whenever people come into town, because, there's always volume of new guys that I know online coming into the city, hanging out with them. But yeah, other than that, it can get, I don't know, kind of, yeah, can get a bit it's I'm kind of used to being alone too though at the end of the day. Like I'm an only child and I've kind of always been on my own. But
How do
yeah,
you
I've been
deal
hanging
with
around like Beck a lot. I'll hang out with Sneeko, Steezy Kane. And I just try to be a good influence. Like even if other friends are going out and doing stuff still, I just be the guy that, I go home early. And then that ends up helping them get on Dean more too. So it's really about just like staying firm in your beliefs and, like a rock, not letting good influences, not letting people influence you in either direction too much. You're staying core to what you want to be. And yeah.
since you took your shahada, do you feel you at all lost a part of your previous identity, like who you were before?
Mm, it's a good question. Yeah, I definitely went through that. I haven't thought about that in a while, but yeah, because it's like when you're in those scenarios where everyone's drinking, it's hard to be as funny as you were. because like I said, you're just not on the same wavelength anymore. So I'm just kind of a bit more quiet and just looking around, and I'm pretty open about stuff like how I believe that alcohol is demonic. I don't know if you've seen that clip where I'm like, you're drinking spirits, cocktails. What do you get? Like, it's just weird. It's literally in the language. It's just a weird, freaky substance to consume. And then I'm also public about how I think sleeping around is wrong. So whenever I'm around like old friends or family, there's kind of always that underlying sense that we both know what I've been saying, and we both know it kind of rubs them the wrong way. You know what I mean? It's like you don't even have to say it necessarily. There's just kind of that little energy there. But yeah, what was the identity crisis? Um,
I'll
yeah,
give
I mean,
a
I just try to whenever I'm with around these people, I just try not to like judge. Like I'm because a lot of people, I'm sure you've dealt with this too. Because you hate the sin, they think you hate them. Like if someone sleeps around and you're saying, sleeping around hurts your soul, or drinking is bad for you, or doing drugs is bad for you, and they're doing this frequently and they don't understand that it's a problem yet, they just think that you hate them. When it's like, I'm sure you feel the same way. To any non Muslim, I don't feel any animosity towards any of them. You just feel a sense of you hope they get guided. You just feel like they're misguided. They don't see what we see. You get what I'm saying? Like, a really good example of this, I feel like, is how most people can't comprehend the Quran being the first person words of God. No matter how many times you explain it to someone, it doesn't click for them for months until usually practicing. And then they're like, wait, so you're telling me like this isn't like the Prophet Muhammad writing this? This is actually God's words, and he's just giving you the message. Like for me, that took a long time to really sink into my head. I don't know about you. And I think that's kind of a similar comparison to make, is because they just can't see what we see, and it's hard to articulate that perspective to them. It's hard to really show them the other side, especially because with dawah, there's so many layers to it. There's some people that think that there's no creator, so then you have to go through the rabbit hole of getting them to acknowledge that there's a creator. And then there's some people that think, okay, that creator didn't send messengers and it's just like up to us to figure it out. So then you have to go through like the messengers throughout time and analyze, okay, were these actually from God or were they lying? Because it's one or the other. They were actually from God or they were lying. So there's just so many different like angles to take dawah from and explain things to people. But yeah, bro, that's why at the end of the day, it really does make sense that God's the one that guides people to the truth, because there's only so much stuff you could say, and you can't see into people's hearts and know exactly what would resonate with them, you know? Like now for us, it seems obvious it's the truth, right? It's like clear as day. And when people ask me, they're like, wouldn't the truth be as obvious as like words in the sky? And I'm like, yeah, to me it is, you know? This claims to be the first person words of God, and you can't really disprove that in any sense. All the people I've seen trying to disprove Islam, it's just straight up lies. I haven't seen one actual credible argument yet. And then they'll get debunked, and a month later I'll see 10 more guys say the same thing. It's insane. So to us the truth is clear as day. But yeah, bro, I think it really just ultimately stems from the heart. If your heart is sincere and you actually pray to your creator and your creator alone to guide you to the truth, I think he'll do it every single time. I have no doubt in that. But yeah, I went on a bit of a tangent there, but
it was good. What has been the part or the time in the last 2 years where your iman was the lowest, and how did you get out of it?
Iman was, to be fully honest, man, um doing something with a girl was like, I understood why sexual immorality was like the worst sin, one of the worst sins out there, because I was like on like a super super high iman. And I'm not saying this to brag about my sins or anything. I'm just being honest with you guys, just so you understand how important it is to stay away from that stuff. From tasting high iman, it was like a crypto chart nuking 80%, doing something like and it took me like months to get back to where I was after that. So, bro, yeah, it was definitely women at the end of the day. That's why it's so important to keep your heart pure and, your body pure from that stuff, not giving into the worldly sins. Because at the end of the day, too, man, with drinking and partying and girls, it's always the anticipation that seems more fun than the actual activity. Once you do any of these sins, it's never even as close to as fun as how much fun it was in your head before you did it. I don't know if you whenever you'd go out to the club, it was always the pregame that was the fun part. The anticipation, the jitters, what are we going to get into tonight? Who are we going to talk to? And then once you get out there and everyone's holding the cup and the music's loud and people's bad alcohol breath is in your ear, it's just like, oh, this sucks. This sucks every single time. Even in college, I would go out. I would ask myself, why am I doing this every Friday night? Why am I coming out? Like every time I come out, this is awful. So what was the question once again?
Well, I would be curious on how you got out of that because I see a big struggle when I talk to people
Yeah.
is they either sin or they have low iman and they let that keep them there, right? Oh, because they're already here. They struggle to get out of it. How did you get out of it? How did you get back to the right?
I actually just recently got much better at that. So my biggest advice to getting your iman back after sinning is firstly not telling anyone about the sin. Don't tell anyone about the sin because once you tell someone about the sin, there's a few different places that can go. It can lead to them doing the sin, and then, okay, now those people that you're around are doing it as well. So it's going to make it more likely that you're going to do it. Um, if you tell other people your sins, you're more likely to remember it because you're talking about it more. So there's a bunch of different wisdoms to why you shouldn't do that. And then the second thing, um, to get your iman back is pray to God to help you forget that sin. So if you don't talk about it, you truly feel guilty, and then you pray to God to help you forget it, it's natural that it's going to leave your mind eventually because you talking about it puts it out into the universe and into other conversation much more that it's going to circle back around. It's like you're once you expose your sin, it's like you're throwing a boomerang out there that's going to come around, it's going to hit you again. And every time you keep exposing that sin, it's like the boomerang keeps going back and you're going to have to deal with the repercussions for exposing it compared to if you just keep it to yourself and you actually pray to God to just help you forget it. Every time I've done that in my experience, and I actually hate the sin in my heart and I don't want to keep doing it, I actually don't end up doing it anymore and I forget it and forgive myself. So my Iman is able to come back much quicker. What would you say? That's pretty good. That's pretty solid advice, right?
I think that's yeah. I was like, that's some banging advice right there. Uh, do you ever feel like it was overwhelming learning about the Deen, learning about Islam?
Bro, I think I like keeping it simple, man. What really the main things that led me to Islam, you pray to nothing but God. It's a very simple lifestyle. You wake up, you pray, you go to sleep with prayer, waking up with the sun, going to sleep with the sun. Um, you can do X, you can't do Y. It's a very clear red line. But I think when people get too into the weeds, man, about the little stuff, like some I was at a conference in Chicago and one of the sheikhs like called out my friend in front of a group of 150 people about his haircut being haram. I'm just like, bro, this is what makes us look goofy. Like if I heard this stuff before I took my shahada, I would have just thought this is another loony religion. When if you just keep it simple, pray to nothing but God, don't drink alcohol, don't gamble. These are deadly sins that, lead to destruction in your dunya and you have to face repercussions in the afterlife. I also liked that you didn't even have to be Muslim to get to heaven. You know that how every religion for the most part says if you don't follow us, you're going to go to hell. You need this savior, you need this. And when I heard that with Islam, you don't even need to if you don't hear the message of Islam, your test is completely different. Like all this stuff just resonated with my fitra so much. So my point is, the simple things are what led me to it the most. And when people just go off on like the haircuts and I'm trying to think of some other examples, bro. Like the little stupid things, because then it's like at the end of the day, bro. Like when you go to the mosque on Friday prayer, you're supposed to be like spotless. You're supposed to clean yourself. You're supposed to wear nice clothes. Dude, it's just like all the halal cart guys. Like the last two times I went, it smells bad when I go there. Like the first few times or the first majority of times I went to the mosque, it didn't smell at all. But when people are just complaining about haircuts and stuff, and then they're inconsistent with like, yo, how about you just like, wash yourself really good before you go to the masjid like you're supposed to. You don't just roll out of the halal cart and pull up. It's just kind of annoying because I want to be able to bring, you know, my white friends and people from my hometown and family, and they can see what I see. They can feel welcome and they can understand why I decide to follow this.
Mm. Does that criticism, does it get to you sometimes? The
Yeah, I
haram
think it gets to probably like every influencer. I think just the Haram police in general, they're just annoying. They're just little like that, but I get it to an extent. Like, you know what it is too? To them, they live in like, countries where they don't see any of the sins that we see. So let's say like us looking at, a revert drinking on camera and we're like, brother, what are you doing? Like this isn't, or a revert, or even just a born Muslim promoting gambling. And me and you, because we're, on different wavelengths, we're like, bro, this is insane. And then let's say, some guy that lives in Pakistan sees us, or me, you don't do this, but me like putting a song in a video. And then to them, that's like the equivalent distance of sin. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm.
So like
Yeah,
how we look at the guys gambling, some dude in a third world country would see me putting a song in a video and have that same reaction. So I think it also just comes from a different place, a different perspective that he has. But overall, I think people need to be able to put their shoes into influencers more before they just jump on the bandwagon of hating and you know criticizing the OD. Even like I showed some compassion for Charlie Kirk, and I was like, I can't believe what I just saw. This is insane. Like people shouldn't be celebrating this. And I had so many people coming and attacking me for that and calling me like a fake Muslim and this and that and like an Israeli agent. And I'm just like, dude, I just saw a guy get shot in the neck doing a job that all of my best friends do in this industry. Sneeko does that. Myron does that. All these guys I know do exactly what Charlie Kirk did, and they actually are much more based. That's the crazy thing. Charlie Kirk wasn't even based. He didn't even speak the truth, and he still got shot. So just to show some compassion, and then you know, yeah, they get a bit too crazy sometimes. But I can't think of all the other examples, and I don't want to harp on it, but
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think you mentioned a very crucial thing where we can't think influencers and people on social media are perfect. We think all of a sudden, because they're in the public eye, they are the perfect example of how to live the most sinless, amazing life ever. But in the reality, if you take any of those people who are spreading hate, causing division in the ummah, the haram police, and you amplify their life to where everybody sees everything they're doing, they'll be no better, right?
Exactly, bro. Exactly. Like they're hypocrites at the end of the day too. They're going like, you know what I mean? Like the stuff that they're doing, it's very hypocritical. And you bring up a great point, bro. None of us are even saying to follow us and look to brother SonnyFaz whenever you need guidance. No one's ever said that ever. Look to the companions of the prophet. Look at the stories of the prophets. This is what we all say. We all acknowledge we're not perfect, and you shouldn't look to us for guidance. You know. So it's just silly when they see a new celebrity accept Islam and then they're like, oh, okay, like he's gonna be perfect in 2 seconds. Brother, I drank literally the night after my shahada. Like I'm not, and like I said, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying it took me time, dude. I started praying one time a week, and then a few times a week, and then once a day. And then eventually I started, making up all my prayers at night because it was hard for me to hit them during the time slots in the day. And when I would say that, it isn't permissible, brother. You need to pray it exactly on time and this and that. And I'm not saying it's not, bro. I'm saying that and a vehicle you can take to get to hitting your 5 prayers a day on time is to make a rule with yourself to make them all up at night. So now when it's Maghrib or it's Isha and you're like, oh damn, like I gotta pray all 5. Okay, I'm gonna do it, but tomorrow I'm gonna make sure I'm just like praying them throughout the day, so I don't have to stand here for 25 minutes and pray all of them at night. That was my logic, and it got me to praying 5 times a day. So just how inconsiderate people are, and they're very like surface level. I think that's a really big problem with the ummah, is they're too surface level. They don't like thinking critically into things or a few steps ahead. It's too hive minded in a way, where it's like you're supposed to accept Islam and go deeper into it and look deeper and pull things from it, not just be a surface level NPC. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. It was the Quran was revealed across 23 years and they expect a revert to be perfect in 2. And
Yeah, it's
we didn't
goofy,
even
bro.
talk about during the time of Muhammad, peace be upon him, we didn't even talk about for the first many years what not to do. It was all about what to do, right? How to
Exactly.
pray, worship your creator. Like alcohol, for example, wasn't even haram until later on because they know that it doesn't work when if you revert to Islam and then it goes, okay, stop all of this. And that's the first thing you tell them. It doesn't work. They have to fall in love with prayer. You have to fall in love with worshiping your creator, understand your deen on a strong foundation, not just everything you're doing is haram and wrong, brother.
Exactly. You literally hit the nail on the head. And it's the same thing, bro. The people that were around the prophet, peace be upon him, at that time are the same. It's like a pretty much exact equivalent to Americans today. You can't just go to Americans that have been so indoctrinated with watching porn from an extremely young age and drinking. And like, I drank when I was 12 for the first time and smoked when I was 13 and did all this stuff. You don't go to those people and you're just instantly stop everything you're doing. Like you said it perfectly. It's a completely perfect equivalent where you need to have them fall in love with the actual deen itself, with God. And then once you have that relationship with God, you're more than happy to give up the sin. Because that's exactly what happened with them. It's the same
Yeah.
stuff. But I don't know why it's so hard for Muslims nowadays to see that equivalence. They just expect you to be perfect, but whatever.
I believe as an ummah, we also need to know the time and the place to give advice. The difference between advice and statements. Brother, music is haram is a statement, okay? Regardless of sin or not sin, nobody's justifying anything. But let's take a quick example. Let's say music. Say people wanted you to stop posting music in your content. Would you have a higher chance of no longer posting music by people who you do not know, who you've never had a conversation with, who are not close to you, spamming in your comments, you have to stop doing this? No, if anything, that's going to repel you a little bit. Because you'll be like, what do you, come on, like it bothers you internally. Or is it better for your close friends to sit down and talk people through, hey, this is what's going on. We'd encourage you. I see this with the hijab women on social media so much. Sister, you're wearing your hijab wrong. Would you rather she takes it off? Would you rather she wasn't wearing one at all? It's like that's not your position to give the advice. The advice needs to come from her close friends and family who can have sincere intentions. Because we don't know these people's intentions who are going, brother, music's haram.
Yeah, facts, bro. And also just being like using your head a little and trying to see what people are doing. Like Lily J, for example, use your head, Amma. She's trying to relate to people, bro. She's clearly trying to just be relatable and get newer people to see her perspective that automatically would brush her away if she's dressed a certain way. You get what I'm saying? Like, if my whole experience with Islam was literally just watching sheikhs with accents, I would not have accepted Islam, bro. It was because my friends were Muslim and they were bringing me to the masjid and they were talking to me about it and I could relate to them. That's what ultimately did it for me. But even when I was doing the mom reacts to Islam videos and people would comment like Dr. Zakir, I think that's his name, the Indian guy, bro, when he said and the ummah and the dunya and the prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and this and that, I don't know what you're saying, dude. Before I accept Islam, you know, like do people think that every American or non-Muslim knows what the dunya and the akhirah and the deen and we don't it becomes impossible to listen to because you're missing so many words. You get what I'm saying? So when then there's someone like me, the Warner, Lily J or Sneeko or anyone else that's just trying to at least be a little bit relatable, you attack us. You attack us. When we're the ones hitting when we're the ones hitting a demographic that you couldn't hit. You know what I mean?
It's a good
That's
point.
the full honest answer right there. Like you guys have to think a little bit more.
Is there
But
any other major issues right now you see in the ummah that are affecting reverts or affecting you? I see the criticism is a huge one. That's the one that's like bothered me the most, is when you have Muslims tearing each other down when there's such big issues. I had the facade that Muslims were perfect when I first became a Muslim, like, oh, there's nothing wrong with the ummah. And then I realized it's very divided. Do you see any other things that are causing a negative towards new Muslims?
I mean, I think the fact that it's hard to do business together is a joke right now. Um, like I've seen it firsthand. Like my friend Beck, who I make the videos with, he has a business where he can go to someone owning a business and literally pay them back money for their payment processing. Like it's one of the most no brainer deals that I've ever seen in my life. Where if you're, let's say, doing 100,000 a month in processing, you're getting charged 2% of every transaction. He'll pay you back half of that with his business, and it's totally legit. It's a big company. It's those aren't the exact numbers. It's something like that. And he'll go to, let's say, Palestinians, for example, a group that he's been like actively defending publicly on social media, and then they'll go and give their business to like some random dude and pay more money that's not Muslim. And it's like, bro, there's so many layers to that. Like, not only is like he on like the front lines for your people, putting like our lives at risk defending this issue, and then you also go and do it with a non-Muslim, that is a worse deal. That's just the first example that pops into my head, is that just doing business, from what I've seen, has just been, I don't know, kind of iffy, man. Like not real collaboration. I've heard the same speech at the masjid 10 times now about we need to come together, and we need to do this, and we need to be like a family, and this. And yeah, you can say it and it can sound great, but if you're not giving actionables to achieve that goal, it's never going to happen. It's like saying, I want to be a millionaire. We got to be millionaires. We got to be millionaires. And you're not saying any goals to get there. You're not saying any steps, any daily recurring tasks to do to get you closer to that goal. It's like you saying, I want 100,000 followers, 100,000 followers, 100,000 followers, but you're not posting a video every day. You're not doing anything about it. So yeah, that's it. But I mean, look at, bro. Overall, let me say some good stuff, because it feels like I've been complaining a lot, which I'm not trying to do. Um, Compared to any other group that I've been in, I mean the Muslim Brotherhood, it's still stronger. It's like us complaining and criticizing now is coming out of a place of love, out of knowing that we're not even close to the potential of the ummah, not complaining about it. You know what I mean? Like Christianity, for example, I'm not trying to talk about them nonstop, but like there's no brotherhood at all from what I've seen. Like you tell someone else you're Christian, and it doesn't mean anything. It's like saying, oh yeah, my t-shirt's gray too. That's very cool. It has no weight to it. There's more weight to, YouTube having the same sports team as your favorite, but not compared to Islam, bro. Like people have been very hospitable, and there's a lot of very generous brothers, and they always like to pay the bill, and they'll let you into their home. Like there's a lot of good to it too.
So it's a very important note to mention. Cover that briefly so we aren't doing a complaint train. What has been the number one thing that you love so much about the Ummah, about Islam, about your new journey since you took your Shahada?
Hmm. My favorite thing. What's your favorite thing?
I would say I've got two different answers for whether Islam and then the Ummah. I think you highlight such an important part about the brotherhood. Like it is genuinely, when someone goes, I'm a Muslim, and then I'm like, oh, I'm a Muslim. Like that means something. There's automatically like okay, I'll take
Especially
care
as
of you.
reverts. Especially as reverts, right? Because
They're
it's like,
very kind, 100%.
yeah.
Um, and then I would say on the Deen side, like if you can fall in love with prayer and fall in love with like understanding the Quran's the word of God, like it's a cheat code to life. Like if you truly live by the hadith and the Quran, like you have a blueprint to live the most fulfilling life ever.
Facts. So I guess my answer to that would be, from the Ummah side, when I tell someone, like a white boy tells, a born Muslim, that I'm Muslim, and then you automatically have like a certain connection with them. It's like a certain, if some shit were to go down here, pardon my French, sorry, I'm still working on my swearing. Like we're ready to throw hands, or you know what I mean? Like we're on the same team. whatever it is, we're together on this. Because what is it? Your brother. You can be brothers in humanity, brothers in faith, and brothers in blood, like fraternal or your cousins or something. And so now it's just like you're unlocking a new level of brotherhood with someone, and it's your love for your creator, which is so cool. You did Umrah, right?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Bro,
Yeah.
that's one of the craziest things in the world to see, is how people from all over the world get together for their love of one God, and it's completely peaceful. Like it just shatters the worldview of people from different cultures and skin colors can't get along. You can get along, but you need that bedrock to be built by your creator, which is Islam. You have to follow the religion that your creator sent for you, not one that humans tampered and made. Because humans are fallible. I mean, they're not infallible. They make mistakes. If a human makes a religion, they're not going to be perfect with it. And so then if you're standing on that as your source of brotherhood, it's going to have cracks in it. And then my other answer for my favorite thing about Islam in itself, I guess, bro, understanding your purpose. For me, that was it, man. Like right before I took my shahada, I did an interview with Sneeko on his 1 minute podcast where he asked me, if you were to die tomorrow, would you be happy with your life? And I said no. And I didn't have a real logical answer to put onto it. I didn't really know exactly why, you know? But then after my shahada and I understand why I'm here, to worship God alone. And worshiping God alone isn't just getting and, putting your head on the ground. It's submitting to your creator, which is the whole purpose of life. It is, you know, staying away from your sins. It is having compassion on people. It is speaking the truth. It is, you know, having the highest level of God consciousness in every action you take, from when you step out of your house to when you take a sip of water to when you're doing a business interaction. You're doing everything with the right intention. So it's really just understanding the purpose of why I'm here. And it, like that hole in your heart is completely filled. And you're not questioning that stuff. Like I could die tomorrow and I'd be chilling, bro. Like I really don't fear death at all. I don't know about you. I'm assuming you feel the same exact way, but and bro, the people in Gaza, like I just saw a video this morning of some dude. He was like celebrating about his brother being martyred. Like imagine having that much faith that you're happy about your brother dying because you know for a fact he's in a better place. This is going to sound so controversial, but I would rather lose my family in this dunya this week having them accept Islam than them live out their whole lives and not accept Islam. And that would, to them, that might sound like I'm in a cult. That's the craziest thing in the world. But that's just how much faith I have that this is the truth and that this is the message from God, the one God. That's it. God. Bro, it's so crazy, man. Like saying something like just pray to God alone. God is God. It's that simple. What else do you need to know? God is God. I just find it so funny how everyone keeps trying to attach an X equals God. A man equals God. A spirit equals God. A cow equals God. Just say God. God is his own unique thing. You can't say anything is equivalent to God, just logically. So, yeah, that's my rant.
Is it hard not having your family be Muslim and know where that ends up if they don't accept Islam? Because it's the same for me. No one in my family is Muslim.
Mm, I just hope they're guided, bro. At the end of the day, I hope they accept Islam before they pass away, because that's gonna mess me up for sure. That one's really gonna mess me up. I'm assuming you feel the same way. And it's so simple. All you have to say is there's nothing worthy of worship but God. That's all they have to say for salvation. You don't have to go and jump in a pool or, go to a synagogue for 3 years. You just have to declare there's nothing worthy of worship but God. So, yeah, bro, I don't know. I truly, I pray every single prayer that God softens their hearts and guides them to the truth, because that's definitely one of the worst parts about being a revert is, you're the only one that sees it. and has salvation in some sense.
Yeah, that was something I had to grapple with for a while. And what's helped me, because I'm not really too affected by it, and I get asked this question a lot. And what's helped me a lot is if you truly believe in the faith of Allah and that He is the best planner and He is the best guide, then what will happen is exactly what is supposed to happen, right? And it's out of my control, and I can make dua, but it's going to happen exactly as it's supposed to. So I don't need to worry because he wouldn't. God won't make a mistake. So what's going to happen is how it's supposed to roll out.
Facts. That's a really, really good point, bro. Even Noah's kids. Noah had a son that didn't accept Islam. Every soul chooses their own path, you know? So, no, it's true, bro. Like, even our kids, it's not even guaranteed that they'll die Muslim. You never know. Every soul chooses their own path. And we'll do everything we can to explain it to them and whatnot. But the Prophet's kids didn't accept Islam at some point in time, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the? Do you have another question? What were you gonna say?
Well, I have a question about balance between deen and dunya. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite topics. I hold a very firm belief that you can have success in this world and success in the next. For you, how do you balance your deen and then the businesses and the chasing the dunya success?
Um, it's kind of just a game, bro. Like everyone in the dunya has to play the game of the dunya. So even Sheikh Uthman has a job. You know, we all come together, we do dawah, we have this commonality of practicing this religion that God gave us. And then X amount of hours of every day, everyone has to go and do their own little video game thing. You know, I make my videos, I do my business, you go and do your business. Everyone has their own little game. So it's really like you can't escape the aspect that you have to play the game. You just have to make sure that you're following the creator's rules when you play it. That's the
Mm,
simple way that I look at it is just make sure you're not dealing with interest, make sure you're not screwing people over, you're trying to do the best business possible, you know, because you're going to be held accountable for every single dollar that you make. You know, like me and you, we're doing some business together right now. You know, I'm helping you build your whole clipping infrastructure, and I'm asking you consistently, like, you know, what could we be doing better in this process? And you're giving me like honest, genuine feedback of where we're lacking and what we can improve for the future. And like, that's what I love, you know, because I want you to get, you know, the most out of your money. You feel the happiest with working with us, and you're also helping us to, you know, fix our systems so that in the future we can just keep improving and doing better business. And that's how it should be.
yeah. I think there's a big thing in the Ummah, usually from countries that come up in more poverty, where they think like business and money is bad. All of a sudden, then they forget the Sahaba were incredibly wealthy, and they forget the, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a trader and very successful in many terms. And I think a really interesting thing, and we can use you with your clipping agency as an example. You can build a way to have success in the dunya and the akhirah through making your business something that gets you good deeds. Okay. So you build out internal systems for me to have a clipping army, a clipping team. And then every single time one of those people clip a piece of my dawah content, every single time someone watches one of those dawah contents, you'll get a good deed via proxy of that. So you build a
Yep.
business that gets you paid, gets you success in the dunya and success in the akhirah. And the best part about it is it'll get you good deeds once you're dead. Imagine this, Sonny. This is one of the most beautiful things, what I love about business. You could be no longer on this earth and getting good deeds every single day because of people watching your dawah videos from clippers who used your system.
It's crazy, right?
It's beautiful.
And a really important thing to note there is that's why with everything you do, intention's the most important part. What did I say when we were doing our business thing? I was like, yo, we have to make sure like we're making this intention to do it for the love of Allah, and as good Muslim brothers should do this business, you know? Because if you don't make that intention, you actually don't even get that reward. So
Mm.
that's why with every little thing that you do, you have to make that intention. Even going to the gym. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to go work out because God wants me to be strong. That's why, like, even when we're doing Umrah, you know how, like, you have the one arm out? That's to show the strength of the Muslims. That's what Sheikh Uthman told me. So making sure that whenever you do business interactions or you're going on a podcast or anything, it comes with that right intention. Because if your intention is just to get the views or just to get the money, you'll get that, and that's it. You missed out on the greatest part of it all. So
Mm.
yeah, you're cooking, bro.
So we just did a deep dive into the struggles, which I think is really important. I think reverts get put on a pedestal of being perfect. And I do think it is a common trend that reverts do actually have high Iman because we know what it's like to not have Islam. Uh,
Hmm.
and, we all go through our own struggles. So let's take a scenario really quick. There's a revert, he just came into Islam, or there's someone who's been low Iman for a while, or someone who's coming back into the fold of Islam. What is the blueprint you could give us to learning about Islam, increasing your knowledge, getting high Iman, learning the basics, getting back into the faith? What would you say?
So I mean, I've had friends that like have taken their shahada and then they kind of like fall off the path. So what I do is I just consistently follow up with them. At least during the start, much more frequently, and then after that, maybe every couple weeks, every month or so. I send them any resources that they could need. I built like a YouTube playlist. So if you actually go to my YouTube channel, there's a playlist called Learn Islam. I have a playlist called Quran. So you can listen to the Quran or you can watch videos that boosted my Iman like crazy. Muslim Lantern, Sheikh Uthman, all those guys. So I just lend a hand, man. At the end of the day, I just give a hand or bringing them around, if they're in the area, going and getting food with them, bringing them on an adventure. I think a lot of people are too afraid to connect people at the end of the day. They feel like they have to gatekeep their connections a bit, where it's never that deep. If you're in town and I'm going to meet up with some brothers, like, yo, Canyon, come along. Is there going to be space at the table? I don't know. It'll be all right. We'll figure it out. You know, like, oh, the reservation only says 8. We'll be all right, bro. We'll be fine. It's gonna work out. It always works out. So it's also really fun too, life, when you just trust Allah. Like, when I was Catholic, the only I wasn't I don't like to pretend like I was a devout Catholic because I wasn't. I barely went to church, maybe once a year. But one thing that I was taught to do is pray to Saint Anthony whenever you lose something. So if I'd lose something, I'd pray to St. Anthony. Oh, look at, I found it. And it was like this game of like, wow, that's so cool. And now I just do that, but with the law and for everything. Like, okay, the bus, I don't know when it's going to be here. It says it's going to be here in 3 minutes, but I got to pray. Okay, I'm going to pray. Bismillah. Hopefully I make it on time. Inshallah. I pray. I get there. Literally perfect timing every time. It's ridiculous how consistent the little stuff like that is when you really are just confident in God. And also, I think people sleep on the power of specific dua. This is something I've really noticed too. Is a lot of people's duas are very broad and vague, where I've made specific dua for stuff like an editor, for stuff like, you know, a team member that I need or a friend or some, like, literally very specific things that get answered almost instantly. Which maybe that sounds a bit crazy to some people, but it it works. It works, bro. So don't sleep on the power of, like, you know, instead of closing your eyes with dua and kind of firing it, like really focusing on a bullseye and shooting it. Because I've had a lot of consistency with it. You do that at all?
I love that. Bro, it's so beautiful because we've got modern manifestation in this world, right? You got to manifest the thing. But if you do specific dua outside of Allah even answering your prayer, you're targeting your mind to pay more attention to this, right? And it's one of the beauties of prayer. Like when you pray for a very specific thing, you are training your mind to pay attention to that very specific thing. I'm
Yeah,
huge on being uber specific and also asking for things that are huge and putting faith that Allah is the best provider and He can do it. It's like some people pray for such small things. And it's like, do you doubt the power of the Creator? Why are you praying for the small thing? Pray for the large thing. Pray that it can happen. Pray for the exact specific thing you want. Put in the work and have faith that Allah will provide.
facts. Facts. And then, yeah, like you just said, also put in the work too. You're not just praying for something and then playing with yourself all day and watching movies. You're taking action. That's what, in my views, puts you more favorable in the eyes of God, is when He sees you actually living up to the full potential that He created you to have.
Hmm.
and then it's like your dawah, it's like higher on the rank or something. I don't know.
I have a closing question that I do on this podcast.
Yeah.
If you had a microphone, say it's that microphone right in front of you, and you could speak into the microphone, and every single person in the world would hear what you say, what would you say?
You'd want this message to be as universal as possible. That's for sure. Just give me a second. Really think about it for a second. To the world listening, to my brothers and sisters in humanity, if there's one thing I'd like to let you all know before I leave this earth, it's that we were all created. Ah, damn, I was almost there. I'm like imagining that like I'm like it's like the
It
end of
was
the
great.
movie and like I'm like the super
Yeah,
microphone speaking to everyone.
I felt like the Sonny movie man just like snap was on. You want to give it a second shot?
Let me go. Let me go again. You don't even have to cut it. It's fine. Let people should see that you mess up with stuff, you know? Nothing's perfect. As a man, we're here for a reason, a purpose. And as a man, I wasn't created by a man. I was created by an infinite power with ultimate intelligence. Now, that power hasn't created us to live in different places and stay divided. He's created us to be brothers in humanity, brothers in blood, and brothers in faith. And all of you, my dear brothers and sisters of earth, you are my brothers in humanity. And so, with my final message before I leave this dunya and that sniper takes me out, I like to leave you with something simple. This life is a test. It's temporary. It's a blink of an eye. 100 years ago, you could look around and see people struggling for food and paying their bills and screwing people over, and they're all in their graves now. And my people, my dear people, it will be the same for you. So with that in mind, do not fail the test. Pray to your Creator alone. Be the best person you could be. Analyze your beliefs. Who wants you to believe those? Why do they want you to believe those? And why do they want you to die for those? With that, as a Muslim, we believe in Jesus returning as he will after this great speech ends in the end of times. And we've been saying the entire time that Jesus will return. So for us to fight anymore, it's pointless. We're going to hear our answer very shortly of if he is God or if God sent him. So with that, do not fight each other. Analyze the programming, detach, and seek for truth with an open heart. That's it.
Thank you for the conversation, Sonny.
It was a bit dramatic, but I tried to cook.
I loved it. It was great.
All right, bro. Thank you so much for having me on. That was great.